What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade basketball analysis coming to y'all with those playoff predictions. We're going to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks playing the Brooklyn Nets, who just finished up my Celtics. We just didn't have enough, and we ultimately fell short because of that. But the Nets handled their business in five. Even the game that they lost, they still had a shot to win it. But the Bucks was able to sweep the Heat. The sweep was amazing. Seeing them defend at a high level, seeing them stay in course, even in the closeout game, to be down and continue to battle, stay together, stay poised, play the game the right way, and to ultimately be able to sweep a team like the Heat. Especially when they was feeling themselves the first three quarters, basically. Giannis didn't play well to me in that game, in that series, entire series. I feel like Giannis was crap when it came to being offensively. He did get some assists. He did make some big plays defensively, but he really couldn't make a shot, especially outside of the perimeter. I looked at Drew Holiday. He was a better playmaker than what he has been. That's why you bring him in, because he can run the offense from time to time, create his own shot, hit some threes, hit some mid range, get to the basket, get out in transition, and make decisions in transition. I feel like Chris Middleton still was solid, wasn't spectacular in the Heat series, but was about what he usually is, which is pretty consistent and a big shot maker. And you're going to need that, especially when things get tight, things get close, and you need somebody that you can get the ball to and get a bucket. DiVincenzo, don't forget, is out, so he won't participate in this series. Bryn Forbes was huge against Miami. He's going to be important because they're going to need spacing and they're going to need three-point shooting, especially because PJ Tucker been struggling from three. And they liked him because they traded a lot of their assets to bring him in. He's going to have to be that switchable guy that can get up in the KD, kind of like a Marcus Smart. If Drew Holiday gets in foul trouble, I always remind people Kevin Durant did torch the Bucks the last two games. So it's not like they have a lockdown defender. He torched Middleton. He torched Drew Holiday even when he played them when he was in Golden State. And it's the same just because Kyrie can shoot threes, Joe Harris can shoot threes, James Harden can shoot threes. And on top of that, Blake Griffin can knock down threes from time to time too, especially if you give him a lot of room. And he showed that even against the Bucks when they played. So it's going to be tough for the Bucks in this series just because they have trouble scoring consistently, especially when they're not knocking down a perimeter shots. And Giannis had some pretty good games against the Nets, being able to punish DeAndre Jordan, who isn't healthy right now either. So that could be some trouble, but he still struggled from outside against the Nets. They gave him some threes. He was able to make them, but he struggled to knock down threes against the Heat. So that's something that the Nets are probably going to continue to let him do. We also need to see who will step up for the Bucks. Brook Lopez has been a better defender in the playoffs than he was in the regular season. He's going to need to be that again against the Bucks, and he's going to have to be able to knock down his threes because they're going to leave him open because they're going to trap and wall off Giannis, and guys on the perimeter is going to have to be able to make shots. That's why guys like Brook Lopez and Drew Holiday and Bryn Forbes are going to be important because it's going to be space and it's going to be guys open. They're going to have to be able to make the right play or make shots, and if they do, they can score with the Nets. The problem is, can they outscore the Nets? And I always say that because it's all about who scores the most points. That's who wins the game. And even when the Nets lost those last two games against the Bucks, they did not have James Harden, and all those shots. I mean, all those games came down and to the last couple plays, and it was close, and they had no Harden, and they have nobody for Kevin Durant. We've seen that in those games, but they also didn't have nobody for Kyrie, which is a problem because you have to guard all three of them now if the Nets are healthy. And Harden has been picking apart defenses all season, almost led the league in assists. Not only that, he had a couple 30-point, 40-point games even against the Celtics. So when Harden wants to take over, he can still get a bucket. He can still knock down threes, and he can still pass to the Bruce Browns, to the Harrisons, to the Claxons, and even find KD and Kyrie if they're open, which we've seen that they do still be open for some reason, and they can splash threes or even put the ball on the on the ground, get to the paint, knock down mid ranges, and also find guys too if they get double teamed or if somebody close out too hard. They have those abilities to make those plays, and also we definitely have to see the Bucks bench. They bench is going to have to show up. You know, they big three, if you will call them that, will have to show up. But the bench is going to have to show up. I said that in the Miami series. I like the Bucks three better than I like the Heat three. But also I like the Bucks others better than I like the Heat others. And that's why I picked the Bucks to win that series, and they was able to do it pretty easily because guys like Brent Forbes and those guys was able to knock down shots, and it really killed the Heat who couldn't. The only problem is the Nets have so many guys that can get their own shot. Plus, they have guys that can kill you if you do help or rotate because they can splash threes and make plays, like I just said. So the Bucks are really going to have to stay focused. It's kind of like the Jazz versus Grizzlies. The Bucks can keep it close. The Bucks can stay in it, but ultimately, can they get enough stops to beat the Nets 4 times? You have to beat this Nets team 4 times in order to advance. If you don't beat them 4 times, that means you lost. So it's going to be important to see what adjustments Budenholzer make, because what they did was enough to win those 2 games that people keep bringing up. But like I said, it had no Harden, who gives them another scorer, another playmaker, another ball handler that can get his own shot, plus take over a game. And that's something they didn't have in those games, and they still was very close, and the Bucks barely won those games. And I just don't see the Bucks having enough oomph. I don't see them having enough killer in them to beat the Nets. I think the Nets, when they get hot, when they get going, and it only take 5 minutes, they can put the Bucks away pretty easy to me. If they continue to stay healthy throughout this entire series. I know it's kind of crazy because I live in Wisconsin. I'm close to where the Bucks are at and where they play, and I will be probably at a couple of these games. But the Bucks just don't have enough. They look like they make sense. They look like they match up well, but nobody can stop this team. Nobody can. When this team is knocking down shots and they big three, which we've seen, gets going, nobody can stop them. Nobody can. Nobody literally can stop them. This is one of them teams where you just gotta hope they're off. That's how Boston won. You gotta hope one of them are off and the role players can't make a shot. And that's just tough to do 4 games while you still have to beat them. The Bucks aren't the greatest offensive team. They aren't the greatest defensive team either, and that was something they was 2 years ago, but that's something that they haven't been this season. But I will say they are built more better for the playoffs because they have more veterans, they have more lineups they can throw out, and they have a lot of different type of rangy, switchable defenders that can really, make things ugly if they are locked in and engaged and communicating on the defensive end. Not only that, Brent Forbes is a defensive liability. He can't guard any of those 3 players, and you're going to have to play him big minutes, and he's going to get torched. I mean, they was torching Marcus Smart, they was torching Jason Tatum to a certain extent, and just imagine what they're going to do to Brent Forbes. Giannis is really going to have to take that challenge on KD. He can make it tough because he's long and rangy, but he can't be in foul trouble because the Bucks will need him for the rebounding, for the ability to be aggressive in transition and in half court, because he is a guy that can finish pretty well and cause a lot of the defenses to break down, which allows the Bucks to get easy opportunities. They just will have to knock them down. But when it comes to seeing both of these teams fully healthy, I just think the Bucks lack the firepower and the consistency on both ends of the court to beat a healthy Knicks team 4 times. I just don't see it. And I know the Nets give you opportunities to win games, but you still have to do it for 48 minutes. And one spurt, one run, just like we've seen against Boston, they can put you away. And the Bucks have got stagnant. They have got some ugly half court possessions, even over the last couple years under Budenholzer. And the Nets can punish you for your stagnant. They can punish you for going cold. And that's how they put you away. And I can see the Bucks being a team that can do that too. Like, they get stagnant. They get some ugly possessions, and they're done if they do that against the Nets. Plus, we have to see what Giannis is going to be. If he's not going to be able to make free throws, if he's not going to be able to knock down perimeter shots when they give him them wide open opportunities, it's going to force guys like Middleton and Drew Holiday and others to play even better than ever just to make up for his lack of perimeter scoring. It worked when they didn't have Harden. Now they have him. So it's going to be a whole different look, a whole different way you have to defend them, and a whole different way you have to play them. And the problem is you have to hopefully try to do it within 7 games to win this series. I don't see it happening. I don't see the Bucks getting it done. But I will say Brooklyn should be able to win the series in 6. I think the Bucks have the ability to beat Brooklyn. I just don't see them being able to do it 4 times. And I don't really see any team, because all the teams are beat up and toe up, being able to do it either. But we shall see. This is a series that a lot of people are looking forward to. This is a series that a lot of people are ready for. Now we got it. Now we have to see what happens. And now it's up to Giannis to answer the call. He got the 200 plus million all-star, all NBA first team for a couple years in a row. Now he gets KD, who comes in his conference because he was the number one seed the last 2 years. And now we got to see what the Bucks do. They made the Tucker trade, they made the Drew Holiday trade, and they continue to tinker with this roster all year. Now we gonna have to see, was those moves and all those times wasted, or do they make sense? As this is a win or die series. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be interesting, but I got the Brooklyn Nets winning it. Other than that, let me know what you agree or disagree with, who I messed out, who I left out. Is I'm crazy? Is I'm right? Can you wait for this series? Are you ready to see these two teams go to war? And do you think that this big three in Brooklyn can be beat? Do you think the Bucks match up with them perfectly? Or do you think that they're just a little bit too much for the Bucks? And the Bucks have had their struggles on both ends of the court against Miami and also in the regular season. Will that cost them the series against Brooklyn? We will see. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Quinn Wade, basketball analysis. I'm done.